I'm going to do a recap on my health goals for quarter four of 2023. And I want to start off by first identifying which area of my health I was most successful with and which area of my health I was most challenged with. And then I'll dive into those with the reflection on the goals in that category. I was most successful with exercise, but I was most challenged with sleep. And so, reflecting on my goals in the exercise category, I realized that I was successful achieving all my goals there. And here, what I had written out didn't have any quantification for what my goal was, but I have been in a habit of exercising consistently for a few years now. And so I kind of already had the details going into the quarter. Really, the goal was kind of to maintain. And in the big picture, I'm paying attention to performance goals and aesthetic goals. So, exercising because I want to be able to do certain activity with my body, but also exercising for other types of goals about how I want my body to look. And so, these are two different categories within the exercise. I was doing cardio 3 to 5 days a week in the quarter, every single week. And I had done exercise on a daily basis to develop my muscular ability. I also made sure to stretch and do at least a little bit of core work every single day, but I did not measure any growth in my body. I didn't have any tracking, so I don't know if I achieved those goals or not. And because I'm already in January, I don't want to go and measure now and determine whether I've done it. I would have preferred to just be tracking along the quarter or just once at the beginning, one at the end to measure my success for those goals. But I was most successful, and I'm most likely going to keep these same goals for quarter one in 2024. And I'm not really worried. I'm not concerned about my ability to keep up on these goals. On the other hand, in quarter four, I was most challenged with my sleep goals. I think of my sleep goals as I separate the goals thinking about getting enough sleep, the quantity of my sleep, and getting quality sleep. And I want to get 8 hours of sleep per day and sometimes more. And thinking about the quality of the sleep is thinking about not just the hours that I'm there in bed at all different levels of sleep, because I had learned about sleep cycles and how you can fall into deep sleep, stay there for a period of time, fall out of deep sleep, and be in a light sleep. Now, when you go through the sleep cycles, it's natural for you to fall in and out of deep sleep and be in these light sleep periods of time. But the quality of sleep means that the amount of time that I am sleeping is efficient, where I'm going in one cycle, getting enough deep sleep, and then transitioning to another cycle. As that first one ends, I transition to another one. Each night you get 3, 4, 5 cycles of sleep. And so I'm thinking of the quantity and the quality of my sleep. But the reason why I was challenged was because we have a newborn baby in the house. And so that really threw off the schedule big time. I did not get 8 hours of sleep every single day. And for a period of time, I didn't even get 8 hours of sleep. Day after day, I was getting less than 8 hours of sleep. So towards the end of the quarter, it started to level out where I on a few days of the week, I would for sure get the 8 hours of sleep. But the quality of sleep is something else. And I think this is just normal after having a new baby come into the house, because I remember experiencing it with my first daughter, that she was a newborn and it took all that work where you get up at night or you just get up to check on her, and then she gets a few months old and you go to bed thinking, well, we're good, I like where we're at, I don't have to get up, this is, we can get to sleep through all night. But since my body had already been trained to be getting up at night, then it will continue to do so. Even though I go to sleep, even though I get in bed thinking, oh, I'm good, I can't wait to get the full night of sleep, it could be weeks and weeks of thinking that I'm past the newborn stage and my sleep is no longer interrupted by a new baby. And yet my body still thinks that I need to get up. And so the quality of my sleep has also been sacrificed. Having the new baby is a blessing, and this is just something that is a part of life. But even though I knew I was going to have that baby, I didn't want to change the goal. I wanted to keep the goal and just speak on the challenge at this point. Now I'm here and I'm speaking on it. And coming into the new quarter, I'm going to have these same goals, and I can already see a trend towards the quantity and the quality of sleep, me being able to get 8 hours. Quality is something that's going to take more time to develop, and not just take time because I have to train my body to it again, but also takes time because I need some education on the quality of sleep. I know that having a strict bedtime is one part to it. When you go to sleep at the same time every night, then you really train your body to get a good night's rest. Your circadian rhythm is on your side. So I have to exercise some type of discipline to keep a bedtime. And then when my circadian rhythm catches up, then it'll become easier to get quality of sleep. But on top of doing that, I also want to educate myself more on proper body positioning. I've I've learned a little bit in the past about positioning the body in a way where you're going to fall into deep sleep and stay in deep sleep longer. And I can't really speak on it at the moment, so it just goes to show that although I've learned a little bit about it in the past, I'm going to need some more education to really structure myself and to get myself in the habits of proper body positioning. What I can say though is that something I went into the quarter thinking about was to be careful with a pillow behind my head because of how it affects my posture. And so I've done a lot better about not holding the pillow too high up on my head and causing my neck to bend forward while I sleep, because then my muscles get conditioned into a position where when I wake up and I'm sitting and walking, standing throughout my day, my neck just feels more comfortable in a bent forward position. And so being able to take that pillow out at night, or being able to have the pillow low enough on my head and my neck, and really having the pillow support the back of my shoulders, even just being more conscious of where I place that pillow, it to me is progress on quality of sleep. Also being like using pillows between the legs, and when I sleep on my side, the way the way my head lays on the pillow when I'm on my side, not just on my back, is also important. My wife got new pillows for us, and that's really helpful because the new pillow I got is like really thick, and so I can be on my side and don't have to feel like I'm crushing my shoulders. Don't have to feel like my head's hanging real low from my shoulders. There's a space between my head and the edge of my shoulder is being filled by my new thick pillow. So sleep is been the most challenge in quarter four, and I imagine it's still going to be a great challenge going into quarter one. And I see that these other two categories I haven't spoken about yet is are also going to be challenged. I was not tracking my nutrition much, although I have great habits on making good eating decisions, making good choices when it comes to the food I'm eating and drinking enough water. I wasn't tracking, so I just feel good about it because I was able to rely on habits that have been established there for months before the quarter started, for years before the quarter started. And I also have a category of self care, which I think of as both the mental, emotional self care that's important for overall health and also the physical self care that is a part of health. So I don't have a way to quantify and to track my progress there. But what I can say is throughout the busy life, I made sure to keep up with hygiene and grooming. Um, so I didn't really let myself go completely. And I also paid attention to taking breaks, stepping away, getting outside, not being productive every single minute of the day, but being able to consider some parts of the day as a break. When it comes to mental and emotional self care, I wanted to focus on being observant about my thoughts and my feelings, and I'm very observant. And I think it's comes pretty natural for me to be observant and reflective about my life in general. What's not coming so natural is to take the extra step to either document my reflection, what I'm observing, or not just the document part, but I have begun to write journals, and it's not a natural thing. I have to really be disciplined to it. But I've gotten better throughout the past years, and what I realize is I have become content with that part of the growth process that I had not really become focused on what to work on with myself when it comes to mental emotional health. So although I'm writing journals, I got to focus more on maybe like one thing at a time. I think that there's these bigger things that have an effect on my thoughts and feelings, and these big things are not easily addressed, they're not easily articulated in my journals, and they cause lingering feelings, or they are the source of recurring trains of thought. And if I look back on journals that I've written over the past several years, I'm probably going to be able to identify some of those bigger things. And looking back into my journals throughout the quarter, I'm going to be able to identify little things that have had big effects on my mental, emotional. And so when I am thinking about how to do better in this category going into the next quarter, I want to be able to set a goal for myself to choose something to work on, to narrow down my focus when it comes to growth in this area, narrow down the focus into either addressing one of those big things or to creating um, a new habit about one of the little things that had come up in quarter four. I can give an example about having the newborn baby in the house, which is brings a lot of stress, and I think it's healthy stress because I feel very grateful and I'm blessed to have my family. But of course, a newborn baby is a lot of work, and having two little ones is a lot of work on me and my wife. And what I want to do is when I'm talking about the little things is be able to handle that stress better. And I've written in my journals about experiences that I've had greatly affect my emotions. So I have a journal to go back to and to think about those experiences and to really learn from it and grow from it. I would have to look at uh, either what was making me feel bad, and is there a way to change my perspective on something so that I don't feel so horrible in a similar experience in the future. Right, a lot of it's about taking from that experience and actually changing my perspective, so an equally stressful situation in the future will arise and be equally as challenging, but my response to that situation, my behavior in those situations, my feelings in those situations won't be as bad, will be better because of a perspective, a new perspective, a shift in my perspective, right? Seeing things differently than I did at the last time something like that came up. So that's an example. That's what I'm trying to explain when I say I want to narrow my focus into creating new habits. It might be a perspective shift, or it might be, just being real disciplined about how I respond. Very specifically, if my wife says something or does something that I don't agree with, there must be a moment where I pause. I don't say anything in response. I do not react because I shouldn't trust myself under certain feelings. And that's going to take discipline, not necessarily about a change in perspective, but more about watching myself as I want to be reactive. And so I going back into my journals and being able to narrow focus on one of the little things that I can fix. Those are the little things, by the way, that you can fix that make a big difference. That's maybe something I want to do for my goals going into quarter one, or I want to think about what are the big things that have been affecting me for years now. In my adulthood, I've been able to experience a lot of professional growth. I've been able to experience a lot of personal development, and I've been able to start my family. And I uh, feel blessed. I feel grateful. I feel like a lot of things are going well for me. But I still get feelings like at moments that things are not going well for me. And so in those times, I have written journals. If I go back and read those journals that have come up in this past year and years before 2023, I might be able to spot the patterns. I might be able to see where this is all coming from. And it could be childhood experiences or influences on me when I was growing up. And it could be similarly like with the little things, right? It's like perspectives that I'm holding on to. But working on the little things is one way to narrow focus on mental, emotional, self care goals. But also the big things is harder, but something that could be very much worth it. And I'm open to talking to a professional. I know that a lot of people find it very productive when you talk to a professional, like a therapist, and tell them about your life. You just share with them stuff, and then they start to ask you questions, and they get you analytical thinking, or they get you to address stuff that you might have not addressed on your own, or it just feels good to get certain things off your chest. I'm open to it, but I also believe that that time with a professional is more productive the more prepared I am. And and that's always going to be true. I'm always still going to have to go and do some work on my own. So I think if I can identify certain things I'm struggling with, then I know exactly what to speak about when I speak to a professional. I don't feel like anything is so serious that only speaking to a professional is finally going to get me to come out about certain things. I think that if I review my journals, I just need to see the pattern and say, there it is. And I might think about it. I'm laying in bed at night. I'm in the shower and I get a random thought. I'm driving. I get these random trains of thought, and I might become aware of what these long lasting mental emotional challenges are. But being aware is not enough. I want to identify these specific patterns in order to narrow my focus on improving one thing at a time. All of that reflection just to say that going into the next quarter, I want to be a little more specific with my mental emotional self-care goals.